Welcome to Thriller Recaps. Today, I am explaining the movie, The Marine, explaining every scene as it happens. Watch till the end, and please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this. The movie begins in Iraq, outside Triton. Terrorists are seen molesting their victims and cutting their heads off after saying a prayer. Marine John Triton is sent to intervene. Upon arriving and seeing the horrific acts, and noticing 9 hostages, he disobeys orders to wait for the other team, claiming there is no time. He bursts into the building suddenly and begins firing at the terrorists, killing each of them by breaking one's head and setting the others on fire, thus saving the lives of the victims. As they try to escape, other terrorists fire at their backup choppers while the victims watch, waiting for John to get them out safely. After this event, John returns to Germany, where he is discharged from service for disobeying a direct order. Before he leaves, the colonel reminds him that he is one of the best Marines, and thanks him for his service. John leaves dejected and returns home to his expectant wife, Kate, who is happy to see him. The duo spend time together, and Kate is very excited he's home. John decides to find another job the following day, thinking he'd go insane if he didn't work. Meanwhile, Rome, a criminal mastermind, together with Scarface, their driver, his girlfriend Angela, Morgan, Vessera, and Bennett, rob a jewelry store. They plan for Angela to be in the store trying on jewelry while Rome walks in. When Rome enters, he assaults the only security guard there and orders the customers to stay down. He then tells them what he wants, some diamonds kept in bulletproof glass. He picks out a woman from the crowd, threatening to shoot her if the man behind the bulletproof door refuses to open it. Seeing this, the man opens it, and the woman turns out to be Angela. Rome was given the diamonds and thanked the man, who then told him he had to hit him for it to look realistic. Rome turned back and shot him, then went on to apologize to the people for stopping their business and tell them to enjoy the rest of their day. The gang walked out just as the cops arrived. Rome picked up a gun and began to fire at the cops' car, causing it to blow up and aiding their escape. More cops and detectives arrived at the scene, trying to investigate the incident and wondering how the gang knew the diamonds would arrive that day. John started working in another establishment as a security guard, but he wasn't too satisfied with it, even though his colleague assured him it was a great job. Just then, they got a call about one of the workers' boyfriends causing a scene. John tried to calmly tell him to leave, but he refused, so John grabbed him and dragged him to the elevator, leading him outside the establishment. The man tried to annoy John, leading to a fight. Some parts of the establishment got destroyed in the process, and John was fired. At lunch, John's coworker tried to motivate him to get another job. John decided to go back home to his wife. Rome and Angela returned home after the operation, where they had an argument about the day's events. Angela blamed him for killing cops and gathering many witnesses. She was worried it would lead to problems for them. Rome dismissed Angela's concerns, claiming he shot the worker because the worker knew his name, which was dangerous for their line of work. He successfully seduced Angela but was interrupted by a call from a man complaining that Rome had become arrogant and killed cops, which could pose a danger for all of them. Rome dismissed the man's concerns, saying he had control since he had the diamonds. The man on the other end of the phone tried to remind Rome who he was and threatened to bring trouble down on him. They agreed that Rome would bring the diamonds, and he would get his money. John's coworker drove him home to his wife. John refused to tell his wife he'd been fired until a video of him hitting the man at the establishment earlier that day appeared on a TV show. Kate didn't make a fuss about it, and instead suggested they go somewhere different for vacation, and John agreed. Later, Morgan met with one of his men to get a vehicle as he and his goons were trying to escape town. The man offered him a minivan, but Morgan rejected it and instead chose a Mustang. Meanwhile, Kate and John began their journey, reminiscing about their childhood memories and the camps they went to as kids. They stopped at a gas station to get gas and essentials, where Rome and his gang had also stopped. A cop drove by and tried to get gas as well. He noticed Rome and greeted him, but Rome just nodded and looked away. The cop got suspicious and moved closer when he noticed a Vegas sticker on the vehicle, trying to engage Rome in conversation. Rome lied, saying his brother lived in Vegas and it was his brother's car. Morgan arrived at the scene and shot the policeman from behind, killing him, while Rome injured the other cop in the vehicle. Inside the store, Bennett knocked John out with a fire extinguisher, and Morgan kidnapped Kate as they took their vehicle. John regained consciousness and saw the men taking his wife. Before they left, Morgan shot at the gas tanks, causing the store to blow up with John inside. John survived and ran out to take the patrol car with the injured policeman in it. Angela learned that Kate was married to John, who was a Marine, and made a joke about it, which annoyed Kate. John began chasing them, with every single member of the gang shooting at him. He then requested backup. Still getting shot at, the cop car began to fall apart. The gang went through a construction area, destroying the site and sending all the workers off the road. Rome commented that John was like the Terminator after they unsuccessfully tried to stop him. Soon they reached the edge of a lake. Under heavy fire, John fell out of the car and into the lake. Kate thought her husband was dead and tried to fight back. Angela tied her up as their car broke down, and Rome planned to use Kate as insurance. The criminals decided to travel through the swamps to avoid the police, still holding Kate as their hostage. Detective Van arrived at the scene and realized that the men who blew up the gas station were the same ones who stole the diamonds. He commented that they were sloppy. The detective then received another call informing him of the wrecked vehicles not far from their location. There, they met John, who had already revived and was determined to save his wife himself. The detective tried to stop him at first, but later encouraged him to go for his wife. The criminals continued their journey into the swamp, with Kate now awake. She tried to escape but was stopped by Angela, who hit her. Morgan was annoyed about their current situation. He and Vesera had a little argument, and Morgan almost shot him before being stopped by Rome, who commented that Morgan was crazy. Rome decided they had no further use for Vesera and shot him, leaving the body for the alligators while the others watched. A search party began with policemen and their dogs while John tried to track the criminals. He was able to note where they had just passed and noticed Vesera's blood. The man who seemed to be Rome's boss called again, and Rome gave him updates about his recent activities, telling him he was not getting any diamonds. Just then, a chopper was heard, and Kate tried to alert them but was stopped by the gang. John continued to track them using their footprints, running after them angrily. Morgan continued to complain about their situation and the fact that they were walking in a swamp. Kate told Rome he was psychotic, and Rome claimed she was being judgmental. He then proceeded to tell her he thought they could have a future together if not for Angela. John missed them again and almost got shot by some fugitives. They later hit him on the head with a plank, causing him to pass out. When he awakened, he found himself tied up. He got hit multiple times in the face aggressively, as they thought he was a cop. After trying to convince them that he wasn't a cop, he finally agreed that he was a cop. He managed to free himself, beat up the fugitives, and escape. Meanwhile, Rome noticed cops by the river they were supposed to cross. He decided to wait until the cops left before crossing with his gang. As the cops left, the gang arrived at a shack that seemed secure enough for them to stay in and rest. John saw all of this and followed them quietly. They walked in and were welcomed by an annoying smell, but ignored it. Later, they talked about Morgan's childhood experience in camp and his hatred for rock candy. He was later sent to find the generator to power up the house. Morgan walked out to look for a generator. He found it and restored the electricity when John suddenly arrived with a knife, trying to kill him. Morgan tried to fight back, but John stabbed him. Rome went out to call Frank, who would leave him with a car, informing him that he was going to Phoenix. Rome returned to the shack and informed Bennett they were going to Phoenix to meet with a guy who would help them ship the diamonds. He then asked Bennett to check if he could start the boat on the water before telling him to check on Morgan, as they hadn't heard from him in a while. Bennett left to check on Morgan when he was suddenly attacked by John. Bennett tried to fight back but was killed as well. As John dragged the bodies under the shack, the detective he met earlier granted him further permission to do what he must and turned off the electricity as a distraction. Kate took advantage of this and rushed out of the building, only to be pursued by Angela. She slipped, and Angela caught up with her. The two women fought, and Angela captured Kate again. John crashed through the window and met Rome pointing a gun at him. The cop also entered the room and pointed his gun at John, revealing himself to have been working with Rome the whole time, and to be the anonymous man Rome had been talking with. The detective asked for the diamonds, and Rome offered him a new deal, asking him to shoot John and get equal shares of the diamonds. John acted fast as Rome opened fire at him, using the detective as a human shield. Rome ran out and tried to escape with the girls, firing at a gasoline tank and destroying the shack. John made a narrow escape out the window. Rome and his gang found the detective's car, put Kate in the rear, and drove off. Some cops found John in the water close to the shack and arrested him, though he tried to explain that the criminals had his wife. John smartly handcuffed the officer and headed for Rita's Marina, the place he had heard Rome talking about earlier. Still in the detective's car, Angela successfully seduced Rome into keeping one of the diamonds. They decided to abandon the car because of the police monitor. Angela hitchhiked and shot a truck driver to steal his truck, while Rome tried to stop Kate from shouting. John arrived and saw the truck, managing to jump onto the back. He then saw a bus heading in the opposite direction and ran along the running board to the passenger seat. He opened the door, grabbed Angela by the neck, and threw her into the bus's windshield, killing her and spilling the blood-stained diamonds. Rome knocked John off the truck by driving into the side of a building and driving through a warehouse, leaping out before the truck crashed through a window into the lake beyond as Kate screamed for John. John confronted Rome in the fiery warehouse, where they fought ferociously while Kate was stuck underwater inside the truck. Rome picked up a saw and tried to cut John apart, but failed as John seemed strong. He kicked Rome into a pillar and thought he had killed him as fire gutted the building, causing debris to bury Rome. John rushed to rescue his wife, who was still handcuffed inside the sinking truck cab and had passed out. He dragged her from the water and tried to administer CPR. At first, he failed as she just lay cold, but after a few tries, he successfully resuscitated her. As she regained consciousness, the couple hugged each other. Suddenly, a badly burned Rome returned, pausing the lovers' reunion and choking John with a chain. John turned the tables and broke Rome's neck with the chain. The movie ended with John and Kate kissing.